So in the year 2000, the Canning Vale Faith Community was started by Mark and Deb Illingworth, who most of you know. They purchased a home, this one here that you can see, they're still in it today, and they started meeting with people there before renovating the shed on this very plot of land. The shed's not here anymore, but that was the shed. In 2003, a few years later, we officially became the Billabong congregation. And once the shed was too small, a temporary tent, and then after that, a permanent marquee, there's Brian and Deb there, was put up on the block. And this one was called The Tent. That was known as the Tent Days. In 2011, which was around the time I started attending, land development started on the block. There's Mark with his plans. And we met in other locations for about 4.5 years, one of them the Seventh-day Adventist Hall. And then finally, in September 2015, we moved in to this facility, something that was but a vision in Mark and Deb's mind from 15 years earlier. The building, that is, not their daughter's wedding, although maybe both. Along the way, the Billabong leadership team, which was Mark and the eldership, captured the vision of the Billabong using this tool. It's called a vision frame. And the idea of it is it's like a window through which you see a picture, this mountaintop vision of the place that you want to be. And it's framed, this window, this frame, with the mandate, the marks, the motives, the map, all M words. And over time, one of these parts, one of these sides of the frame became a key phrase for the Billabong. Many of you will know it. It's this one here, promoting life in our communities with the marks, growing faith, grounded hope, and generous love. And with this frame, there was a whole document, a vision frame document, which unpacks actually what that means. So with regards to promoting life in our communities, it says stuff down here like promoting means we are ambassadors of Jesus. We represent him in the world. That's what it means. We promote Jesus. We represent Jesus. We're his ambassadors. Life, promoting life, means life in Jesus and through Jesus, the abundant life that he offers. In our communities means in our workplaces, in the various communities we're a part of, families, workplaces, local communities, our neighbourhoods, etc. And so, in essence, promoting life in our communities, our mandate, our mission, what we're called to do is to represent Jesus and display and encourage life in him to those in our communities. That's the essence of our mission. Why would we do this? Well, because doing this will take us towards the picture, the vision, the mountaintop that's in kind of the middle of the frame, which was this big vision of a church who knows God, people who know God, know and are known by our neighbours so that our neighbours would know God. And so when we talk about the vision of the Billabong, the mountaintop we're heading towards, that is what it is. It's huge, God-sized dream of everyone around us knowing God and the community around us knowing God. So the mission, how we get there, is represent Jesus well to them, but this is where we want to be. Now, as I explained before, the Billabong has come through a number of different seasons. The tent, the shed, the house, the shed, the tent, the wilderness, and eventually here, the promised land, as is sometimes referred to. This community centre was a vision, a clear vision of where we were heading, in the same way that the promised land was a vision of where the Israelites were heading and where God was taking them back in the Old Testament times. But the real vision for the Israelites was a thriving and healthy and blessed Israel that experienced the freedom and joy of being in the promised land. And so the promised land itself was not the vision. It was a vision that they needed to get to so that they could fully experience the blessing of being a thriving and healthy Israel in the promised land. But understandably, for the Israelites, the vision of this healthy and thriving Israel was somewhat blurry while they were still in the desert trying to get there. Once they got to the promised land, then the picture of what we could be and what God wants to make us into started to become a little bit more clear. And I think that to some extent, this has been the case for the Billabong as well. A vision for this community centre was an amazing vision, but it was the vision for a little while the big picture was still a little bit blurry. I love this vision to know God, that we know and are known by our neighbours, so that our neighbours will know God. But what does that look like? What I think it's just now, starting to come into focus a little bit more. Now, a few weeks ago, I had a look at our logo. This is our logo, and I asked, was there any symbolism in it? This is a grass tree, and it's always been in our logo, that grass tree. But is there any symbolism in it? I asked Annalise, I asked Mark and Deb. There were some grass trees on the block back then, and so that was one of the reasons it was included. It sort of goes with the Billabong. It's a native Australian plant, goes with the Billabong imagery. But recently I found a YouTube video that explains how a Billabong is formed. For the sake of time, I'm not going to show it now, but a Billabong is basically a curved body of water that comes off of another water source. So it's a curved body or a stream of water. And so when I looked at the logo, what I saw after watching this video immediately was, one, this trunk, this base, with a number of curved blue lines. And then on the top, these all different shapes and sizes and directions of curved blue lines coming out from the trunk, which I think clearly represents our goal, our mission to promote life. It's for us, the Billabong, to show Jesus and to take Jesus to the communities around us while we experience life in Jesus as in this base, this trunk of being a church community. I asked some other people what they saw in the logo, because that was just my kind of view of it. And Anna took a very different approach, which was interesting, I thought. She researched the grass tree itself. What's a grass tree? What did they used to use it for? And she found all these fascinating things, like how it was used by the Indigenous Australians for food and for glue to make their weapons and all this kind of thing. How it flowers after it's been burnt. Interesting. But one thing in particular that Anna found, it made my jaw drop. She said it takes, apparently, 20 years for the trunk of the grass tree to be properly established. And next year is the Billabong's 20th year. Now, as our leaders have been working to live out and equip others for the Billabong's mandate, this promoting life in our communities, the question we have constantly been asking is, what's the vision? What's the mountaintop? Where are we heading right now? It's starting to kind of come into focus now that we're kind of in our promised land, in what was kind of the vision for a while. But the promised land, this community centre itself, was never ultimately the vision. It was a very important vision and destination to help us get towards the vision that God has for us. And so a couple of weeks ago, we gathered our staff, the elders together, and to try and clarify this slightly blurry picture that has always been there of where we're heading, but required a bit of a journey here first, like the Israelites needed to come first to the promised land. It needed a trunk to be established, maybe you'd call it in our case. We knew that it was and always will be knowing God so others know God. That's at the essence of it. But could we now paint that picture a little bit more clearly? And when we think about it, is not the vision of the life of Jesus impacting our communities, being promoted in our communities, is that not actually central to the vision? Is that not central to where we're going? Jesus known in our communities, not just a statement about the path that we take to get there. It's both and, of course, but how does this all fit together? Now, Andy, our facilitator for the day, he helped us with this image, which basically shows that it's basically a guy trekking through these mountains, and the vision, who or God wants us to become, that's the sort of the destination. That's kind of over the horizon a bit. It's that mountaintop we're heading towards. That's who or God wants us to become, the destination. But there's a path to get there. There's a path on which he's walking. That's what we do. That's the mission, the path we walk towards the destination. And on a hike, you take with you a backpack. Important things for the journey in your backpack. And these are the things that we value along the way. What are we taking for the journey? And so we spent the day praying and brainstorming and discussing who or what does God want us to be? Where is he taking us? What does he want us to do to get there? How are we going to get there? What's the mission? What's the path? And what do we really value along the way? And on our whiteboard kind of scribbling, you'll see a number of words that I've certainly heard consistently during my 8 years at the Billabong: community and family, and there's a bit of outreach in there, and relationships, and casual and organic, and I'm sure food is in there somewhere. If not, it was pretty much on every other board. All these words that describe who the Billabong is, who's God wanting us to be, where are we going, what's in our backpack, and it's all kind of tied in together. And then the question was, okay, so that's all good. Is there a way that we might now, for the season ahead, phrase the destination, the path, and what's in our backpack, the vision, mission, and values? And most importantly, will it be different, or will it be the same as how we used to describe that, with this to know God, know and be known by our neighbours, so our neighbours would know God, the promoting life in our communities. And is anything missing? Is the cultural context of society around us now a bit more post-Christian than 20 years ago? Have things changed a little bit? Does that change how we ought to express what we're about, how we express our desire to represent Jesus? And the result of this conversation and prayer and spending time together on that day was that we've chosen a couple of new phrases: a vision of where we're going and a mission, the path to get there, that we really believe capture the heart of the Billabong. Something that's true, we hope, to the original vision and mission of the Billabong, as well as something that will take us into the future. And it's such a privilege to be able to share this with you today. Over the last few years, many people have shared with us this picture that they see of the Billabong, that God has impressed on their hearts, which is this kind of teeming with life water source of animals and birds and fish and trees. And then another image that has come up really regularly is the Old Testament picture about trees planted near a stream of water. And that has come up time and time again. Trees planted near a stream of water that they would then have a lot of life in them. And of course, the other thing that is most often used to describe the Billabong is a family. Now, not everybody's family is able to be healthy and thriving and growing, but a family whose father is God, the Creator, is a family that thrives and blesses and impacts and even transforms our communities. And it's a family that can be for everybody what their own families may not be for them. And it's a family that transforms communities around us, whether that be Canning Vale or Leeming or Armidale or Cardinia or even Rockingham. And so who or what does God want us to become? What's the destination here? What is the vision? Our new vision statement is this: our vision is to be a thriving family of God, transforming our communities. For me, this is exciting. It's this kind of God-sized vision that only He can accomplish through us. How do we get there? Well, there are so many important elements to that. There's all these things in our backpack, the things that we value, but the path, this is just a picture where there's a path through the bush towards that place, thriving, full of life. The path, the mission has always been about Jesus. His life lived through us, promoting the life of Jesus in our communities that we seek to transform. And so we hope that this mission statement captures what we've always been about. Our mission is to live and love like Jesus. Simple as that. You may or may not have noticed before that right under the old mandate mission statement was in brackets, promoting life in our communities, in brackets, like Jesus did. It's always said that. And so for next year, in the 20th year as a church, we're going to focus in particular on this theme and walk through the story of Jesus, the life of Jesus in the Gospels, how we live and love like he did. What about what's in our backpack, you may ask? Well, we think we have a pretty good idea about that. We also asked you who were here last week to let us know on those little slips of paper what you believe the Billabong as a whole values. If you haven't done that, we'd still like you to write down a few of those things that you think the Billabong really values, that it has in its backpack and is taking for the journey. And then after that, we're going to see what do our values, what do our core values look like and how they expressed. Just to wrap up, what does all this look like next year? That's one of the most important questions of the whole thing. Some of this we know, and some of it we don't. Over the coming months, we're going to unpack that which we know lies ahead for the coming season. And we would really love your engagement with all of that, as we've been asking with the cafe space, for example. We have some key priorities which we're developing, and we want to use this centre to reach our community, that it would be transformed. We want to, in particular the cafe space, we want to help everyone find and use their gifts and skills in a variety of ways. We want to make a global impact with some mission partnerships that are being established right now. And we want to explore how we structure and operate to allow the Billabong to become a family for everybody who wants to be a part. Even if, which at present is actually over 200 people who call the Billabong home, but it may not always be possible for them all to be here all at one time, but it's over 200 people. And that's a really big question about our structure and how we operate. What do our groups look like? What do our celebrations look like if we really do want to know our neighbours and they know God, or, as we might now put it, to see our communities transformed? If we believe that's possible, what does it look like in the way we operate as a Billabong? That's it for now. I'd love it if we could pray, and then the team's going to come up and we're going to wrap up the morning in worship.